So this is one of those, like this is a vendor-neutral conference, da-di-da-di-da, but as long as Keith doesn't prevent us from coming here physically, we will keep coming here and present very much vendor-specific presentations, okay? Quite honestly, we're gonna talk about the product, but even if you're an air magnet user, this might be you know, something you want to hear. If not, it's cool if you go somewhere else. There's no beer at the back, but I'm sure you can find some downstairs, but we won't get offended if you won't be listening in. We'll be talking about the upcoming version. So there was a time when people just released press releases to announce about product features. I think we still do that, but we think it's kind of cooler to use Keith's conferences to announce them before that. So at least, you know, gets you guys informed before the other guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, so what's up with the version number? It's 8.5, and the current version we are on is 8.1. So people has been asking about what's up with the version number. Why 8.5?
We always argue about this, don't we? I don't know whose idea this was, and Keith actually wrote 8.6 in the agenda. So
I mean, I figure if you're just making up numbers.
Why not? So let's call this 8.6, okay? So what's new in 8.6? Start with a little bit of backtracking. So what's happened recently? Do we have a clicker? Can we use this?
Oh, you want a clicker?
Yeah, it would be nice.
USB?
Do we have a free USB still?
We do.
Is it gonna crash?
Yes.
Cool. So who's still using pre 8.0? Anybody on version 7 or version 6 or 5? You can be honest, we won't get offended. We will just charge you for support, $809 if you do. So in version 8, this is pretty familiar to you guys. CAD support, throughput testing, and the new licensing system. So actually, Carol today at breakfast was like, how often do you break the licensing because you broke it in 8.0? So do you do it like every major version number? But no, that's not the idea. We had the existing licensing system for like 10 years, and then we needed to refactor it. So that's why 8.0 required a new license. Is that fair to say?
True.
And then after 8.0 came 8.1. Anybody tried 8.1? A lot of you, that's good. You used this simulated radios, disabling anyone? At least Keith has, that I know. Good. And then there's some conversion tools and the EIRP display, which again, how you configure transmit power in ESS. The transmit power you configure is from the radio, not from the antenna. It's not EIRP. It now shows EIRP next to the transmit power box. So, and also there's no longer RTLS features in Ekahau site survey starting from 8.1. So that doesn't mean the product cannot be used for designing RTLS networks. No, not by any means. It still provides those tools, but it doesn't include the Ekahau RTLS calibration features that it used to have, like drawing the rails and marking RTLS zones and things like that. Any questions about the RTLS stuff? I thought there might. Yeah, that's already passed, so no, I'm kidding.
We have an antenna that's 3 dB, which a lot of integrated antennas are. That's an average, is it? Like it could be 4 on 5, it could be 2 point something on 2.4.
Yeah. There's different antennas for 2, 4, and 5, so those are treated differently. But and of course, with regards to antennas, we need to live with what we get from the manufacturers. So. And yeah, it's not an incredibly exact science like predictive design isn't in general. Any other questions? No? Just move on. PDF import, yeah. Okay, then last week we released 8.1.1, which you may or may not have downloaded already, probably not. The most notable thing there is the keyboard shortcuts, and as discussed yesterday, the panning with the spacebar is probably the most notable one. Then there was a feature that we made based on the CWNP conference, feature feedback thing, bug fixes. And now the total number of access points and antennas is 1,449. So that's like 30 times the number of APs you see there. No, 50 times. Anyways, on to the new version. So this has been known for a while, so people wanted better and more integrated interference analysis. So to us, that was kind of the general consensus, sure, but going deeper on what does it actually mean, we needed to scratch our heads a bit. So we needed to drill down to the major use cases of like interference analysis. And there's really a couple of those. So first one is on the spot. So often, like, you bring in your spectrum analyzer. I guess this is for most people. You just use the spectrum analyzer when there's a serious problem there that you cannot resolve from your desk, or using clean air, or using whatever integrated spectrum analysis you may or may not have in your APs. So you need some kind of field toolkit for that. So this is like not do after a survey necessarily. This is like, give me that information right here, right now. And there's already good and decent tools for this out there. But we felt that, you know, it's a $5,000 tool, and people have it often on their laptops and perhaps open anyway, so we might want to, you know, include some of these as well. And then there's, of course, the post-survey analysis. So as you do your survey walkthrough, it might make sense to collect spectrum data as well, so that you can see at least the most significant problems with interference. And there's, granted, already we are gathering the noise levels from the Wi-Fi adapters during your survey, and they kind of, on a heat map level, they do give some indication if you have, you know, really problematic areas of noise, but that's about as far as a noise measurement from a Wi-Fi adapter goes. Keith considers this extremely accurate, the Wi-Fi adapter noise measurement, right? Yeah, it's incredibly accurate. But it's to me, it's better than nothing for sure. So if you see some like really problematic areas, even if you measure the noise levels on the NIC, it's an indication that you might want to go there and take another look. Okay, so for the on-the-spot troubleshooting, there's a couple of things that you need to do. So we wanted to combine spectrum and Wi-Fi in an intuitive way that's easy to use. And we also didn't want to change the nature of Ekahau site survey that much. The primary use case is still site surveys and planning. So we scratched our heads a lot with like, how should the user experience work? Because it should be available right the second when you open up ESS for the user, but it shouldn't confuse the user from the traditional features like planning and site surveys and analysis. So we came up with a feature we call real-time frequency monitor, or RTFM, which includes a few components like, what's so funny about these are better actually shown than explained, but it has a few different views of the network, how it's working real time and a few seconds ago. So maybe we should just show the tool. And or should we?
Let's see.
So bear in mind, this is a demo version, so anything can and probably will happen. So what we have is, we have two Ekahau spectrum analyzers connected to the computer, as well as two NIC cards. So it's gonna be a maximum of 2 simultaneous adapters supported, and usually it's like one is scanning 2.4, or one is sweeping 2.4, and the other spectrum analyzer is sweeping 5 gigahertz. That's the default setup as well.
All right, so how do I move these to
You can
that?
physically, I think, move it to the other desktop.
The laptop?
That's exactly what I meant.
No.
Yeah, actually, you can make a duplicate. Cool.
We need this.
Kind of thing now. I guess you need to extendieren the display, bitte.
Yep.
All right. Is this visible? Can you see anything in the back? How much can you see? Okay, those of you who cannot see at the back, it's either we configure this until the end of the day, or you guys just have to come to the front. All right, and we have some of the adapters live and some not, it seems. Or
No,
yeah,
they all are working.
we have nothing in 5 gigahertz.
That's the case.
All right, very good, very good. So yeah, so when you start ESS, this still looks pretty much like the old product, right? All we added is this down here. So we tried like numerous different user experience styles for this, and then we came up with this that is kind of non-intrusive. It shows a few things, but I guess at this point the relevant stuff is here. So at any time the RTFM is available for you with the click of a button. And this probably looks familiar to many because you know different tools use some of the same things as we do. On the left-hand side, we have the timeline. So what you're probably used to is a flipped 90 degrees flipped version of the spectrum. We put it like this because it's easier probably for the user, at least for us it was easier to understand, for example, signals on a timeline that's on the where the time is on the x-axis. So that gives us, you know, signal strength here for the signal view, and then time on the x-axis. So these are the detected APs. This is the associated AP. If we had more APs in the same network, we would show them with different colors. If you select one of the APs, it will be shown with different color and stuff like that. There's the spectrum view. This is for 2.4, and you can barely see. It's not the best resolution on the monitor, but there's channels here on the y-axis from 1 to 14, and you can see that especially 1 and 11 seem pretty crowded. And then there's the active survey as well, which basically is dropped packets, delayed packets, roaming. So anybody ever used the survey inspector tool in Ekahau site survey? So for you advanced users, this might actually look pretty familiar. And this is what we also call like a survey inspector version 2, because this replaces the survey inspector and then adds things like spectrum and a few other things into the mix as well. So the idea is that here you can see the changes over time. Here you can see what's happening pretty much right now. But what we're showing here in the spectrum view is, of course, not like what's happening just this second. It's what's happened in the last 60 seconds here. And you can configure this. And you may or may not be able to see that this is actually 2 minutes, and we have grayed out 60 seconds out of it. So if we want, we can let's say 30 seconds, or look at a shorter time frame, and you can see how the gray out here. Yeah, now we're looking at only this part, so the very last 30 seconds, and these remaining 90 seconds are not considered in this view, if that makes sense. Okay. Any questions? No?
Does it support all
Great question. Does it support all the versions of Ekahau spectrum analyzers? Yes. The answer is yes, it does, both the older one and the newer one.
What about the MetaGeek 2.4 only?
What about MetaGeek 2.4 only?
Even those, yes.
Officially, we only support Ekahau spectrum analyzers, but they are there is a fairly similar product called MetaGeek that we support as well. Although they have nothing in common, but yeah. Have we tried the 24X?
We do, yeah.
It works as well.
Yeah, I think we got it from Keith.
Let's try it. Let's take a risk. Just unplug one of those and let's see.
Let's try one live.
Maybe you want to unplug both.
Thank
If
you,
it
yes.
tries to, yeah, I know this is totally not supported, but so only if it tries to configure that one for 5 gig, then we are doomed. But
This is not gonna end well.
yeah. Excellent question. So if you have a dual band spectrum analyzer and you wanted to sweep both frequencies, that's not supported. You can sweep just one. Am I on crack or correct? So is it true that even with a DBX or dual band spectrum analyzer, you can only sweep one band at a time?
Correct.
You can, yeah. So it's one band at a time, but you can put in, let's say, 2 spectrum analyzers and put the other one to scan 2.4 and the other one 5. And besides, due to the limitations in the hardware, the scan speed for both bands would be too slow to be usable for most cases. So it works, does it?
It looks like. Did you already mention the toggle, the band toggle?
I did not, no, yeah. So do you still have a couple of those analyzers?
Yeah, the other one is 2.4x.
Okay, that's cool. So it does work with 2.4x and a DBX, so you can do an economic version of this. You don't need to buy necessarily 2 Ekahau spectrum analyzers.
Well, the noise floor can't be right. There's absolutely nothing on 5 gig better.
Yeah, that's why we're not shipping it yet, right?
At least not these ones.
Yeah. So yeah, here you can switch between 2, 4, and 5 gigahertz. And then what if you want to see both simultaneously? There's the up button in the top right corner. So now we're seeing both 2, 4, and 5 Wi-Fi and spectrum at the same time. So okay, granted, a human brain cannot process all this information at once, but at least it gives you the opportunity to see what's going on right here, right now, for both bands, for all of the channels, including the timeline and everything. So that's real-time analysis, and I think this was one of the, quite honestly, this was one of the drawbacks of the previous Ekahau site survey versions, because there wasn't really an effective way to troubleshoot on the spot, and this kind of tries to improve that situation. Yes.
Can you change the 5 gig to be all, or is it only Uni 1, Uni 2?
Sure.
Yeah.
Actually, it is all. Yeah, no, I'm saying.
You mean this guy here?
Hold on.
It's probably the scan configuration. At least in the end product, yes, you absolutely can.
You can zoom into just Uni 1 if you want to.
On the spectrum, yes. You show the configuration of the spec and. So the spec and configuration is pretty simple. You just slide which channels you want to scan it. For example, do just 36 to 48 or something. Yeah, there you go.
So if you're doing a survey, this is being continuously recorded?
Correct. By default, it's of course not recorded anywhere. It's just showing, the last 120 seconds, 120 seconds. But correct. When you're then doing a survey, and yeah, let's get to that. Hold that thought. We'll come to that in 5 minutes. But yeah. So now, did you reconfigure the spec and?
I did. To be honest, I don't know what's going on with them right at the moment. So
Okay.
if you don't mind, I will unplug the 2.4x adapter.
That's fine. That's fine. But the point is, you can configure both spec ands to sweep whatever frequencies you want. But by default, we are scanning all of 2.4 and all of 5 if you have 2.
Is it possible to display FFT duty cycle?
Is it possible to display duty cycle? Graphically, no, but there is a utilization percentage that we display.
When you talk about configuring it to show a particular part of the spectrum, is that just then going to be what it shows you, or does that limit what it's capturing at that time?
It limits what it's capturing at that time. So it reconfigures the spectrum analyzer to only capture data from that area. Okay, a few other things. So if you want to investigate Wi-Fi in more detail, you can use the radio filter to filter down, select one of the, let's say, Internet Gust in honor of Matthew Gust. So now we only see, of course, the results from that SSID. So it kind of cleans up this view here, cleans up this view here a little bit. Of course, we cannot limit the spectrum, but it limits down the Wi-Fi adapter results for that. And yeah, now that Mikko highlighted all the APs on the right, you can see that they are highlighted here as well. And show also the hover over the AP. For example, when in here you hover over the AP a little higher, just a little higher. Sorry, I'm blocking.
It's awfully sensitive. All right.
So it highlights that same AP here as well, and it highlights the same AP here. So there's no need to like. Often it's the case that you kind of have to try to interpret, what is this bar in the other table or stuff like that. But in here it's not necessary. And you can actually click it, from there, and then it's selected everywhere and whatnot. Then there's a channel filter as well, works similarly, no big deal. So you can select whichever channels you want to investigate. Then if you put the mouse over, let's look at the tooltip for a bit. So you move the mouse over, and it will give you the basic rates, things like that, maximum data rates, all the vital information of the APs. And here we kind of need your help too. We should actually take a few screenshots at least of the tool and then tweet those out and say, is this the information you want to see, or is there something else you would like to see? Scott?
That's what I care about. I want to know where that was. So if I'm doing it manually, I've got to remember where I was or mark it on a printed floor plan, something like that. So can I overwrite the floor plan later and it shows me where it was, or it goes back to that point?
Give us 2 minutes and we'll be there. Good question. Last thing before we jump into the floor plan is the channels table here. So instead of looking at the actual APs, you can also look at just the channels. So it will show the overlap per channel, it will show the utilization per channel, the noise floor per channel, and things like that. Going back to the radios tab, in here it detects also, of course, like what technology is being used, and since we have 802.11b, it will show a warning or a red color that you probably don't want to do this. There will also be a information about the rates supported by the APs, and if 1 megabit data rate is supported, then it will show a warning of that too. It will also show you these kind of similar color codings if you have an excessive number of SSIDs, things like that. So it kind of tries to instruct the user when there's something obviously wrong with the network. Hint to the hotel owner. Okay. But that's kind of the basics of the on-the-spot troubleshooting. And then you were asking, what happens when it's on the map, right? So can we open some kind of a project? No, we cannot.
We can. Hold on, let me try to find it.
All right. So by default, when you have spectrum analyzers inserted and you want to do a survey, we try to keep the same thing as with the Wi-Fi adapter. So they are pre-configured pretty well. So all you need to do is fire up Ekahau site survey, and it automatically captures spectrum data as well if spectrum analyzers are connected to the laptop. So no big deal there. And then whether you choose to use that spectrum data or not is up to you. Spectrum data is collected in both continuous survey mode and the stop and go survey mode. But given that in the stop and go survey mode, you may only have the wait time for like 10 seconds in the stop and go mode, that doesn't capture much spectrum data now, does it? So for the stop and go survey method, we actually will implement a system that collects all the spectrum data when you have the surveying active, regardless of whether you're clicking on the map or not. So all the spectrum data will be gathered, and then we will just mark those spots on the timeline where you have actually clicked on the map.
How much does it increase the file size compared to normal?
Good question. For the tests that I just ran yesterday, how much was it? One spectrum analyzer and 8 hours of surveys, which is a lot, of course. It was 20 megabytes. For two, obviously, it's roughly 40 megabytes. 2 analyzers, a full day of surveying, 8 hours, 40 megabytes. So it's not too bad, in my opinion.
Was it unzipped data? Was it unzipped?
It was actually unzipped, but I don't think it will, the zipping will not compress it much because it's already quite compressed. But something along those lines, so it will not blow up too bad. Okay, so here we have a survey. And first of all, what we don't have to show yet, so this will ship at the end of the year, so what's not ready yet is the heat maps based on the spectrum data. And that's kind of like a difficult thing to do anyway, so we'll have a couple of basic heat maps for you. We already have the noise heat map. We will then just be able to show also the noise based on what we hear from the spectrum analyzer as a heat map. And the other heat map we will have is some kind of utilization duty cycle type of a map. So those are still very much under development. And the idea is use the heat map to get a rough idea on what's going on and where the problems could be, and then use the survey inspector to kind of start drilling down. So if you go to the survey tab, isn't it a beauty to navigate from there? You go to the survey tab, you take the survey inspector, and then we can see all the measurement points on the survey routes. Can you take out the APs? Or is there? Okay, and then you double click anywhere on the map and you can see the same results. For example here, and there's gaps in the data, don't worry about that, but the idea is that when you can click anywhere on the map and see the same information here as you did in live. Now this is just recorded data, and if you for example scroll this guy here, you can go back and forth in time and see any situation anywhere with the exact readings that were taken at that point, with the exact spectrum, exact Wi-Fi information, and including the timeline as well. And these can also be, of course, shown for 2.4 only, or 2.4 and 5 gigahertz and whatnot. So it kind of gives you a very detailed view of what was going on at that exact time. And of course, if you see funny stuff in the timeline or in the spectrum graph, it helps you identify those problems.
Did you push play or something?
No, I'm just clicking on this bar. When I click on here, it's moving on.
Yeah, you can see the...
Can you hit, is there a keystroke to do it?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Good idea.
But there should be.
Yeah.
So you can, in a way, play back the whole survey. This will indicate your location, and here you will see the actual data. Question, Herr Kriedemann.
Yeah, first I have to say it's good. But of course, we always have to go a step further. What about reporting? How I can get all this information to the people? Okay, wait, as something prepared, or do I have to do a screenshot or something?
So for reporting, it's not done yet, but it will be kind of selected snapshots of the spectrum. So you can select which are the areas of interest, where did you find interesting areas, and then you can report those.
I like to have this point in the report.
Yeah, exactly.
We have been thinking some kind of way like a bookmark this exact location and time, something like that. We'll see.
Kind of like markers on the map.
Yeah.
This is reportable, this is reportable. When it comes to the Wi-Fi information, these are all bound together. So in the previous table view of signals in ESS, we didn't use the MAC address binding logic and things like that. So instead of showing each SSID separately, these are now physical radios. For example, here you can see that there's 2 SSIDs in this radio and stuff like that.
How about if you have multiple NICs?
If you have multiple NICs, so how does it utilize that information here? And that was another drawback of the previous table view. You could only look at the signals for a single NIC, and same with the survey inspector. You had to choose a NIC and then look at the signals only from that NIC. This binds all the information from all the NICs regardless of which channels they are scanning. So it tries to free you from thinking about the adapters and more looking at the actual Wi-Fi data. Good question.
Will you, down the road, have analysis of other signals like Channelizer has that tells it's a phone or it's a PIR?
So I wish I got $1 every time I hear this question. So the short question was, the question was, will it have like classifiers for different interferers? And I think Channelizer, it has the curves, right? But it doesn't really, if we are honest, it doesn't really detect automatically the classifiers. And this has the same thing, except we don't give you any curves even. So you have to, at least in the first version, you need to interpret manually what's going on in the Wi-Fi frequencies. And quite honestly, we are limited by the hardware here, of course. So there's certain things like classification that for now we will not be able to do. Not automatically. Any other questions? Nigel?
Which noise floor do you use in the SNR reports if you've got the spectrum analyzer?
Very good question. Which noise floor are we showing? So that's the key thing, right? Because spectrum analyzer and the network adapter may report very different noise floors. And if you right-click on the noise floor column here, you can actually select which one you want to use. And obviously the drawback of the Wi-Fi adapter is it will only report noise floor for the channels where there is Wi-Fi activity, which is kind of funny, but that's the way it works. For the spectrum analyzer, then it will not be able to do any kind of differentiation whether Wi-Fi signals affect the noise readings or not. So there's no ultimate truth here in that sense. So the user has the ability to choose, and also for the heat map, for the noise heat map and the SNR heat map and stuff like that, user has the ability to choose. But for the heat maps, I think we will default to the readings from the Wi-Fi adapter, and then you can, if you want, use the spectrum analyzer as well. And it will have an intelligent system that if you have spectrum data only from 2.4, and then you want to look at noise floor from the spectrum perspective, it will then on 5, it will fall back to the adapter readings, or whatever is the best available. And we were we had several meetings just last week regarding this, and we were arm wrestling with Mikko about how it should work and stuff like that. But that's a good question, and it's an important one from the user perspective. It seems like a minor detail, but it's actually pretty important. Any other questions?
Do you need additional memory for the 8.5 release? It's obviously quite a bit more.
Good question. Do you need additional memory for the 8.5? Because it obviously does more. Yes, this will consume more processing power and more RAM, but for what we have tested, it shouldn't change the configuration that is required for ESS. The beauty is that this view itself consumes, like, the difference is mostly actually in computing power. And this view, at least as it stands today, use quite a bit of processing power, but it's not enabled when you do surveys, for example, because it's hidden, so no processing power is used. Processing power is used when you're doing the analysis, and you're not calculating heat maps and this at the same time. So it's actually just we are using more computing power when the computer is pretty idle anyway. So in short, it shouldn't affect it that much, but quite honestly, we are still in the middle of stress testing and scalability testing. So we will tell you if things change dramatically, but definitely the goal is the same computer setup should do. The file size, of course, will grow, and there will be times, especially if you decide to use spectrum data for the heat maps and you have a huge map with, let's say, 20 hours of survey data, it will load the heat maps more slowly. But for example, if you don't use the spectrum measurements for the heat map data, then we will kind of bypass all the spectrum data when we're processing the heat map. So we're doing things like that to optimize the system.
Was that something that you wanted to hear? Because I know if we have told you that yes, it requires more power, you would have had an excuse to get yourself a new computer.
Just on that on computer, does Ekahau work better with more cores or with more CPU?
Good question. Does Ekahau work better with more cores or more CPU speed? The dominant thing is actually RAM. So we consume RAM like there's no tomorrow. No, the system just prefers a lot of RAM. And once you have enough RAM, then it's either or both are good. So it utilizes multi-core quite nicely. You can actually see that if you use the Windows tools and start generating humongous heat maps. So it uses multi-core and it uses your processing power both. So anything you can throw at it, it will use. Except graphics card, it doesn't utilize the graphics card at all. Good question.
So what is enough RAM?
I like to say, like, if you're working with large projects, 16 gigabytes is good. And some people have even more. Like Devin has one of the NASA's previous computers, I think, for doing his. Herr Friedemann.
Yeah, I just use the merge function quite excessively in larger projects. I just ask myself if it would be possible to merge this data to another project file. For instance, I'm doing modeling in one project file, take a copy, put surveys on it, delete the walls, and then merge them together. Will it work for the spectrum data too?
It's gotta be, I would say. It has to be.
Okay, so yeah. So does the merging work between different projects, including the spectrum data? And the goal is, it should work seamlessly. Any other questions? No? We're good? So this whole spectrum integration thing is due out until the end of the year, but it will be December before we
before
wrap
Christmas.
everything up. Yeah, before Christmas. Otherwise, there's no Christmas. Christmas will be cancelled. It's like Santa Claus
No
is
Christmas
leaving.
holidays.
Santa is leaving the North Pole, and then sorry, 8.5, man. Do you have to go to Rovaniemi to get it from? Yeah, you have to actually steal it from Santa's sleigh. No.
We have two versions of Ekahau Site Survey available, Standard and Pro. So will this be included in the Standard?
So is this included in Standard or Pro? Quite
We haven't
honestly,
decided yet.
we haven't even thought about it. One thing is for sure, it will be included in the Pro.
No, let's do the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. Or as we will call this, we just yesterday, when Keith had a few beers, we decided that we will call them the standard and the non-standard. Pro will be non-standard, just like non-DS and DS, right? Anyway, Okay, so that's the spectrum analyzer integration. A couple of other things. How much time do we have? 10 minutes? Okay, that's perfect.
So I try to switch to the notes.
Yeah.
You want to show some slides?
No, I don't think. I think it will be too much hassle. So, I guess the background is back in since 2003, people have been asking for different kinds of note mechanisms to be built into ESS, because it's clearly not just a survey tool, but you want to put in things of interest during the Wi-Fi installation, and that's why we were forced, 12 years later, we were forced to implement these features. We listened to you guys and rapid feedback, lean development, you know, all this stuff, right? So we came up with a node tool that allows you to do a few things. So,
Go on.
oh, you're gonna scale the map.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. We need it for the cable.
This is brand new, the scale tool. So first of all, you can place text-based notes on the map. So using the node tool, and this is a preliminary version, but so take the node tool and then just place a note on the map. So you can give it some text. You can give it an icon, and these are not the icons
Just
we will
working
use, but there will
icons.
be icons for APs and cabling closets and whatnot. And then you can also add photos to the notes, and then the next question is, can this be reported? Of course, yeah, there will be different mechanisms for reporting the notes as well. And you will be able to take a picture using your tablet or laptop, which is kind of inconvenient, or you can browse for an image. And there we can see the note placed on the map. So pretty simple stuff.
Will there be any way of showing the notes when you export them? You know, when you export an image.
When you export the image, will there be...
Sometimes when you're just given something to an electrician, you're going, here's floor one, here's floor two. You're not going through reports, it's just...
just an image export.
So it's just a heat map or just a picture that you associated with the node, or?
It's more like you'll be giving them a map with AP positions, but you might want to have a note, don't put on beam, you know, don't.
But that's how the export works, right? You export whatever is visible on the map. So if you put the empty heat map and then you just have the APs and the nodes on the map, then it will report. Yeah, or at least you will be able to see the text of the node. Okay, so that's the text and picture, the basic type of node. And also since 2003, people have asked for some kind of cabling things, the one at the bottom. Exactly. So instead of doing like a fully blown cable tool, the IB Wave guys will actually show a demo later today, and they have these like kick-ass cabling and connectors and stuff like that. And we didn't wanna stomp on their feet too much. So we just created a simple line drawing tool that shows, first of all the length of the cable, and then it allows you to draw different colors of cables, different kinds of cables, and then it also allows you to give some notes to that cabling run, right? So pretty basic stuff. And then this will of course also be reportable. And then since 2014, one user, Blake Croney, has been asking for area-based nodes, and maybe this is usable for somebody else as well. But since Blake is a big deal, we had to do this. Otherwise, he would have changed to air magnet. So you can draw these areas that also can have text included in it as well. So these could mark areas of interest that are not necessarily Wi-Fi related or coverage area related, but something else. Like, for example, this is the area we agreed to survey, or this is an area where we saw something funny and things like that. And this will also be reportable. So that's the note system. So really basic stuff. It's almost like putting parts of Microsoft Paint and Word inside ESS, so we felt kind of funny, but it's something that seems to be necessary for some of you guys.
Sure, and something also for the AP node. So we've been adding lots of new fields to the AP node, such as the model of the AP, the model of the antenna, tilt, things like that.
So those will also be reportable, and you will be able to associate pictures with APs, because that's, I guess, one of the most common cases for nodes is associating the picture of the AP installation or things like that. So that will also come at the same time. Scott?
It's obviously not that practical to use a laptop or even a tablet to take a photo.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have an Android or even an iOS app so you can take the photo with your phone and instead of having to manually tie it in, somehow, even if it's not in real time, it transmits it and ties that photo from your phone into that, into the survey that you do in your laptop.
Agreed. So for those of you who didn't hear, Scott said that it's better to take photos, obviously, with a smartphone and then tie those into ESS, and that's what exactly our thinking as well. This is the first version, and it will either we will evolve this version of ESS or the iOS version of ESS will. Oh, I said too much. So.
You didn't hear that.
Anyways, on with the show. But yeah, I agree. 8.6 is the iOS version, yeah, the magical 8.6. All right, did we have anything else to, at least we had something to discuss, right? Yeah. The CAD wow stuff.
That's true.
So real quickly, we probably have 2 minutes. The wall outlining wizard, reading the walls from the CAD files. So the problem there is that there's so many different types of CAD files and the architects use them differently. That some users were seeing maps where it was cropped the wrong way, or it was looking at the map from only partially, or stuff like that when you were importing in the CAD drawings. So we are improving that, might make it to 8.5 or then 8.5.1, but we are improving that system in a way that you will have different views to the same layout of the CAD drawing, so that you can choose like which of these views works, which of these views includes the entire map and stuff like that. So like some of you guys, based on the discussions here, you would have had to, like, if the CAD file was not correctly made, you would need to ship it back to the CAD guys to edit them and then, get them back and put them back to ESS. But now ESS will be able to do some of that work for you. So less picky on the CAD file and less back and forth between the CAD guys and you.
What about layer 0?
It will be included, yes. Very good.
Great question. Layer 0 support will be included, yeah.
Is there a way of, if you're in Photoshop, some of the adjustments are standard adjustments, they're kind of hard to explain. If you're in AutoCAD, sometimes walls are double walls. You don't want to import them as double walls. Is there a way of making feathering the adjustment so that if walls are close together, you'll see if there's only one, or fuzziness? It's hard to explain.
Yeah. The question is, sorry, I'm just going to repeat this. So if you have walls like really close to one another,
Or it's a window that's made up of sections, but it's only one window.
Exactly. So double walls close to one another and stuff like that. Can we filter them down? By nature and by design, actually almost most of the walls in CAD files are like that, and ESS 9 times out of 10 at least, it actually successfully combines them. And when it does not, I would suspect that most often it's a scale issue. So maybe the scale wasn't detected correctly from the CAD file, and then it's not able to, because it doesn't know the scale, it doesn't know how close the walls are.
We could have a tolerance slider. That was the word.
Yeah.
Tolerance slider.
Tell you what, let's take this offline, send us some of the files that don't work, and we'll fix it. Cool, and that goes for anyone who has these CAD files that don't work properly with reading the walls properly, or double walls, whatever. Send us the files.
Jussi at Ekahau.com.
Sorry?
Jussi at Ekahau.com.
Jussi at Ekahau.com. Ouch. Anyway, Rene has a question.
It's just a general question about coverage areas. We all, some of us will use or have to design high density areas inside one project.
Yeah.
So, we're always asking for having the opportunity to use the capacity planner for a specific part of the building.
Right.
What we would need for that, for different coverage areas, for different classifications.
Right. In short, Rene is asking for high-capacity zones, and at the risk
First
of
time I hear this.
air magnet guys, close your ears, because we're about to make some reveals of the roadmap. Yes, it's under development, right?
Yes.
So high-capacity zones is very much under development, but at the same time, we are kind of improving the entire capacity planner, so it will take time, but it will be out next year for sure.
As well as the auto planner.
Yeah, that goes with a better auto planner that doesn't overpopulate the APs and avoids one AP per classroom methodology. It will ask, are you Keith? And then it will use less APs. Are you Keith? Are you doing education? And then it will just put a couple of APs here and there. And then, are you Ben Miller? And then it will use one AP per classroom, right?
Google.
Yeah, Google APs, exactly. Yeah. Last things, what else did we have in store for 8.5 or?
We'll improve project saving, for example.
Yeah, project saving. Sometimes project files may get corrupted, so we're doing a double check kind of to ensure that what you saved actually works. It will not prevent you guys from, if the laptop falls asleep during the saving or runs out of battery during the saving, it doesn't solve that. And it's not yet an auto save, but towards that direction.
Yeah, we're going towards that direction, yes. And what else? Notifying the user if there's no data coming in.
Yeah.
So
it happens sometimes when you ding an adapter to somewhere, or for some reason your adapter stops working. We will make a clear notification that something's wrong. You may want to take a look at that. All right.
All right.
Last question. Someone, except Rene. You're out of questions.
All right.
No?
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Yay.
thank you.